What's going on, karting fans? Welcome to another vlog. We are currently on our way just to meet my dad at the unit. He's all ready to go. It's really dark, so we've had to torch to actually see him. So hi. Yeah, so we're gonna go meet my dad now, and it's about 250 miles to Dunkeswell where we're going this weekend. So it's gonna be daft o'clock when we get there. But it's currently Thursday night. So we're going to get down there, hopefully miss the traffic, hopefully there's no road closures on the way. We'll get there probably early hours at this rate, and then what I'll do is I'll check back in the morning once we're at the circuit. I don't know if there's a practice day tomorrow, I don't know what's going on yet. We're literally rushed to get going today, the logistics of it all have been a nightmare. But we'll check back in the morning, and then we'll have a look at the circuit because none of us have ever been here before, so it's all new. And then we'll go from there. Sweet. So good morning, karters. We made it at about 3 AM. It's actually a really nice day. It's really blue skies out there. Mick's just catching a tan in the sun. So yeah, we've decided to go out on the corporate karts today because we've not been here before, so it'd be nice to have a go around the circuit in something a little bit slower than what we used to. So I think there's about 10 of us going out. So what I'll do is I'll get some on board of the circuit, and you can have a look at the circuit from a corporate perspective, which I think is quite cool. Just got the helmet camera on charge now, so I can use it. So I'll check back in once we're on them. We're going to go out at 12 o'clock, I think. It's still got another hour or so yet. And then we'll go out on the corporates and just have some fun, I guess. A few of the guys who are not racing are going on. So it should be good. So yeah, we'll see. I can always charge it up if it dies.
How you doing? You alright?
Get the day through the Exactly, yes. You can start it from the river. Yeah. I'm going to start with a C. Not called well, when we drive in, 7.3.
No, but this is changed.
Call it UK.
That's the back.
I'm only
Dave booked off there every day. So the end next to me.
7903.
They were all right. Get into the box. His own lid on. There he is. Oh, there he is. He's always left me in the way. All right, yeah. I'm going to go down.
Brother. Well, steering wheel's a bit loose, but let's go. Well, we're on the circuit on the corporates with some absolute legends, amongst some champions of karting here today. Away we go. kind of felt like I was out there on my own for like 90% of that. Not much action going on in front. Maybe I'll try and hold back a bit next time. There we go. hopefully you enjoyed the onboard there from the corporate karts. That was a lot of fun. Like I say, out there we was racing with some absolute legends of karting. And Chris was the only non-race driver on the track, and he enjoyed it, and he wasn't last, so he was happy with himself, even though he was racing other people and not the clock. Yeah, it was fun. I wasn't quick by a long shot, but that's because I'm heavy, and yeah, I'm no good on direct drive things. I need a stick to waggle about and change gears and stuff. But no, it was fun. A lot of good guys out there. We all had a good laugh. That's what it's about. So yeah, it's like Friday afternoon now, so we're gonna have a look at the kart soon. Not really sure what gearing to put on round here, because like I say, we've never been. So we'll probably just go out as it is and gauge sort of which direction we need to go with the gearing. Or just try the setup as it is in the first session in the morning, and we'll change a couple things through the day and go from there. So yeah, not really much else happening today, so I won't drag it out talking to you. I'll probably check back in the morning. You can see a bit more on boards out there, because the circuit that we race on our karts is different to what we was on the corporate karts. So yeah, we'll check back in the morning. I'll wrap it up for the day, and we'll go from there. Morning campers. So we've got up and we're actually first out on the track this morning. So we've got up, got a quick brew, gone and signed on real quick, and then yeah, we're first on the track. So we've just quickly gone over prepping the kart. It's a little bit damp on the floor because it's rained in the night, so we've gone up a bit in the pressures. With it being a bit cold, we'll see how it is. We need to find out where the gearing's at. And yeah, just sort of get out there and learn the extra bit of the track that we didn't do yesterday in the corporates. So we're on the track in about 10 minutes, I think. We'll just get a feel for it and just go from there. So, quick update after the first practice. It was a bit slippy in places, but it was fine. Mick has seized his engine, unfortunately, so he's in the process of getting his barrel cleaned. I'm quite happy with the gearing. The gearing seems pretty okay. It's just a case of learning the track a little bit more. It's definitely not a gearbox track by any stretch. It's a little bit busy around that back end. Lot left, right, left, right, left, right. So that's not the most fun in the world. And there's not much overtaking happening through that little wall section at the back. But no, feels alright. We're going to jet up because it feels a little bit lean. Well, it looks a little bit lean, should I say. So we're just jetting up on the carb to be a bit safer. We don't want to do what Mick just done and seize it into the straight or whatever. So we'll have a look at that. The exhaust temperature sensor was a bit loose, so it was hitting like 1,000 degrees, which wasn't right. So we sorted that. And then, yeah, hopefully it gets a little bit drier and we've not got any of them little slippy spots out there, losing a bit of traction going around certain corners. And then we can try and push and try some different lines in the next session. Try and get a little bit of a quicker lap time. So yeah, we'll try that very soon.
I really think you don't want to call it a bit of that one, you're on all four corners.
I think my helmet camera died or I forgot to turn it on. Either way, I might have some footage from that last one. If I do, yeah, the kart was really unsettling under braking, and I was like, something's not right here. I don't know if there was no, I don't know, the brake bias was off or something. Anyway, I pulled in and realised there's a flat tyre, so it all makes sense. So we're going to put some different tyres on for the next one. Yeah, that's all I've got to report really. I was fighting to drive it and wondering why it wasn't doing what I wanted it to. Yeah, flat tyre explains it. So we'll get that changed. We've only got 2 more sessions today because we've got heat 1 today, so they're doing that thing again where a couple of the heats run on a Saturday. So we'll get heat 1 done later on, and then we've got a bit of a more relaxed day tomorrow with 2 heats and a final. Just hard work.
Same thing.
Huh?
Same thing.
Yeah, it's quicker, but only a bit. This circuit is just hard work. Yeah, we've just changed the front and gone a bit narrow on the front, just to try something different, to try and get it a bit more settled around the corners. It just feels like I'm constantly changing gears, constantly having to make adjustments to the steering, and it's just tiring and kind of, don't want to say not enjoyable, but like a bit hard work compared to having fun. Is the best way I can put it. Yeah, it's a bit demanding on the arms and everything else basically. So I think we've got one more practice, and then we've got the heat one this afternoon. So we're going to try it a bit narrower on the front, see if we can get some smoother lines, try that, and then yeah, everything else is just try and find a faster way through. I've tried braking as late as I can, going around the big hairpin on the pit bend, and then my dad said it looks like I'm going a bit too coasty into the infield, the really tight left-hander on the infield. So I'm going to try and be a bit more aggressive into that a bit later on the brakes, but not too late where it's unsettling the kart. So it's just trial and error. We've never been here before. You know, I'm not like a million miles off the pace, maybe half a second. But I think if I can just tidy up a couple more corners, I can be there or thereabouts. So we'll try again in the last practice, and then we'll get ready for the heat after that. Okay, so quick update. The kart felt better with the narrower front end. We're going to go for our driver's briefing now before the first final of the weekend. We're literally the first heat of the weekend. Yeah, kart's all ready. We're happy with it. We've just got to go out there and do a bit now. So I'll see you out there. So just to wrap up the day, finals over and done with now. You've probably seen a bit of on board. Yeah, I can't really put my finger on what's going wrong. I'm just struggling out there. I don't know. Like I'm just not getting to grips with the circuit at all. You know, I don't know if I'm braking too early. I've tried throwing it in and being more aggressive and sort of, you know, flicking the back out to get round corners, but it feels like it's slower. I don't know. I think I might finish 5th in that one. But at least the kart's in one piece. You know, the kart's going well. I'm just sort of half a second off the pace. You know, I don't really have any excuses. You know, I've not put brand new tyres on this weekend. You know, that always helps. But yeah, I just can't seem to find my feet at this circuit at all. So yeah, we'll wrap up for the day. I know the 125 Classics have just gone out, and you might have seen me speak about Neil, who races in 125s, who's a good friend of ours. Just had a bit of an accident on the track, so hopefully he's okay. We'll go and check in on that shortly. Yeah, that's about it. So Saturday is over, practicing, and heat 1 is out of the way. We'll take a 5th. It could be worse, could be 10th. So we'll go with that. We'll go again tomorrow, see what we can do. Yeah, we'll go from there. Good morning, karters. Welcome to Sunday race day, even though we've already had one race yesterday. We've just finished eating breakfast. Mick's gone out to do the 3-lap transponder check. I didn't really see any point in doing it. We're not going to achieve anything. Just got to go out there for heat 2 and hopefully have some better pace. It's a different day. Things might go our way. We'll see. So I've not even got my suit on yet, so I'm going to get ready shortly. Like I say, we've got a bit of a wait until our heat actually goes out, because we had one heat yesterday, so we've got to let everybody else have the heat 1, and then we go out probably an hour or so. There goes the plane for the parachuters coming down in a minute, because we're just by an airfield here. So yeah, I'll check in on the helmet camera shortly when we're going out. I say shortly, it'll be shortly too, but it's about an hour away. And hopefully we can have a fairly decent result in heat 2. I think I'm more towards the back in heat 2, so we can only go forward, and then we're on pole for heat 3, so that'll be an interesting one. We'll just play defensive and see how we get on. hell. Sound like you.
Timing to Alan Bryant. Yeah, now I just want to make sure you go
Sounded like a bag of spanners.
in Formula C for a jump start.
Bad vibration as well.
And it just kind of clunked and then just sounded like a bag of spanners.
There will be something in your gearbox.
Yeah, it sounded like it.
Your levers will attack.
So, as you can see, I had to pull in earlier. It's actually in gear now. You can see something is catching. Looks like it actually looks like one of the sprockets might be loose or something. So we're going to pull it apart, diagnose the problem. We're probably not just putting the spare engine on at this point. It seems to have cleared up now, but it was just hopping. So yeah, we'll pull it apart and have a look, and I'll let you know soon what the problem is. Not ideal, but hey ho. So as you can see, I'm probably going to let that race play through because it was pretty non-stop action from start to finish there. So I guess the issue with the gearbox in the other engine is kind of a blessing in disguise, because we put the different motor on and all of a sudden we've found pace and we're fully in the mix with the pack, which was really good. There was a lot of changing of positions, people missing gears, myself included. Missed a couple gears at the bottom there going onto the back straight, but wow, just transformed it. Got so much power coming out of the corners now and finding a better line. It just felt a lot more confident in the car immediately, which, you know, a lot of driving comes from up here. You can have the best setup in the world, but if you've not got the right up here, then it's not going to happen for you. So yeah, I'm happy with that one. I think I was still maybe fourth or fifth, I think, no, fifth. But the pace is good, so I look forward to the final now. Yeah, I'm feeling a little bit better about the day now, a bit more perked up. So we'll run the final, check back in shortly, and then we'll wrap it up after that. Yeah, let's go. 3-1.
Oh, well, that was fun. Pace was good, just not good enough. I think that puts me 4th in the championship overall. It's not too bad. Good racing though, good racing. Close. I don't know who's won the championship, I'm not sure. We'll find out. Whew. Peace.
So with that said, that brings the main championship to a close. We have got one more round in a couple of weeks, which is the open plate. That's down at Fullbeck, so we'll be back for that. We think Mick's just lost the championship in that last final by a few points. The way things stand, it was close. There's only like 3-4 points in it, we think, which is a shame. So I'm sure we'll go again next year. Must try harder. And that's about it. I think we've overall 4th in the championship, same as last year. Yeah, that's about it.